History is often remembered through great wars, powerful rulers, and the rise and fall of empires. But sometimes, the real cause of destruction was not an invading army or a political plot, it was love. Love has the power to inspire and heal. But when kings, queens, and emperors followed their hearts instead of their duties, love became a dangerous weapon. Their marriages were supposed to secure alliances, strengthen dynasties, and protect the throne. But passion is hard to control. And when rulers chose forbidden partners, the results shook entire nations. In these stories, personal choices became matters of state. A kiss could spark a war, and an affair could bring down an empire. Today, we will explore forbidden love stories that didn't just end in heartbreak, they nearly destroyed royal dynasties. From Cleopatra's fatal romance with Mark Antony to Edward VIII giving up the British throne, these tales show how private passion could rewrite world history. 2. Why forbidden love was dangerous for royals. Before we dive into the stories, we must understand why love was so risky for royalty. In ancient and medieval times, royal marriages were more like business deals than personal choices. A king's marriage could unite kingdoms, while a princess's wedding could secure peace for her people. Love had little to do with it. A forbidden romance threatened all of this. If a ruler married someone of lower rank, nobles feared losing influence. If a queen had a lover, whispers of illegitimate heirs could spark rebellions. Even rumors of an affair could weaken a dynasty's authority. Foreign powers also watched closely. If a ruler seemed distracted by passion, enemies saw an opportunity to invade. And if the wrong heir was born, it could split the kingdom into civil war. So when royals followed their hearts, it wasn't just scandal, it was dangerous for the stability of nations. And as we'll see, in many cases, forbidden love proved to be just as destructive as any battlefield. 3. Cleopatra and Mark Antony, love that shook Rome. One of history's most famous romances is that of Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, and Mark Antony, one of Rome's most powerful generals. Cleopatra was already legendary. Intelligent, charismatic, and ambitious, she had once been the lover of Julius Caesar. After Caesar's assassination, Rome was divided, and Cleopatra allied herself with Antony. At first, their partnership was political. Antony needed Egypt's resources, and Cleopatra needed Roman protection. But politics turned into passion. They became lovers, and Antony even married Cleopatra despite already having a Roman wife. To the people of Rome, this was shocking. Antony was accused of betraying Roman values, bewitched by an exotic queen. His rival, Octavian, used the scandal to paint Antony as a traitor. Soon, war was declared. The climax came at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, where Octavian's fleet defeated Antony and Cleopatra. Facing capture, Antony fell on his sword. Their love story did not just end in tragedy. It ended Egypt's independence. After their deaths, Egypt became a province of Rome. Cleopatra and Antony's passion had changed the course of history forever. 4. Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson, a throne lost for love, jumping forward nearly 2,000 years. Another forbidden romance shook a monarchy, this time in Britain. Edward VIII became king in 1936. He was popular, charming, and admired by the public. But behind palace doors, he was deeply in love with Wallis Simpson, an American woman. The problem? Wallis was divorced twice. At the time, the Church of England, which the king led, forbade remarriage if former spouses were still alive. To the government and church leaders, the idea of Wallis becoming queen was unacceptable. Edward faced a painful choice. He could remain king without Wallis or give up the throne to be with her. In December 1936, he chose love. In a historic speech, Edward announced his abdication, saying he could not carry the heavy responsibility of kingship without the help and support of the woman I love. The scandal shook the monarchy. Edward's brother became King George VI, father of Queen Elizabeth II. Edward and Wallis lived the rest of their lives abroad. excluded from royal duties. A single romance had forced a king to walk away from his crown, something almost unthinkable in modern times. It proved that even in the 20th century, forbidden love could still change the course of history. 5. Emperor Xuanzong and Yang Guifei. The downfall of a dynasty in 8th century China. The Tang dynasty stood as one of the most powerful empires in the world. Emperor Xuanzong was respected, wise, and successful. But his reign took a dark turn when he fell in love with Yang Guifei. Yang was celebrated as one of the 4 beauties of ancient China. Her charm and elegance captured the emperor's heart completely. So smitten was Xuanzong that he began to neglect his responsibilities as ruler. The emperor elevated Yang's relatives to high positions, angering other officials and generals. Soon, corruption spread and resentment grew. The empire was left vulnerable. This weakness gave rise to the Lushan Rebellion, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Millions died, and the Tang dynasty never fully recovered its strength. As chaos consumed the empire, the people blamed Yang Guifei. Soldiers demanded her death. To save his own life and calm the rebellion, Xuanzong agreed. Yang was executed, leaving the emperor devastated. Their tragic love did not just end in heartbreak, it marked the decline of one of China's greatest dynasties. A single romance had contributed to the unraveling of an empire. 6. Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal. A love that nearly broke an empire, the Mughal Empire in India gave the world one of the greatest monuments to love, the Taj Mahal. But behind its beauty lies a story of how love nearly weakened an empire. Shah Jahan, the Mughal emperor, adored his wife Mumtaz Mahal. She was his closest companion, advising him and accompanying him on campaigns. But in 1631, while giving birth to their 14th child, Mumtaz died. The emperor was shattered. He withdrew from court life, neglecting governance at a crucial time. For months, political matters were ignored as Shah Jahan drowned in grief. Determined to honor his wife, he began constructing the Taj Mahal, a project that took over 20 years and drained enormous resources from the empire. While the Taj Mahal remains a symbol of eternal love, the empire itself weakened. Shah Jahan's obsession with grief allowed rivals to gain power. Eventually, his own son overthrew him, keeping him imprisoned until death. Love had created beauty for the world, but it also distracted a ruler and hastened the decline of his empire. 7. Lessons from history's forbidden loves. Looking at these stories together, we see a clear pattern. Forbidden love stories were not just about passion. They were about power, politics, and consequences. Cleopatra and Antony's affair ended an ancient kingdom. Edward VIII's romance changed the British monarchy forever. Emperor Xuanzong's devotion to Yang Guifei triggered one of the bloodiest uprisings in Chinese history. And Shah Jahan's grief for Mumtaz Mahal weakened the mighty Mughal Empire. The common thread? Love clashed with duty. Rulers had to balance their personal desires with the weight of leading millions of people. When they chose love over duty, the results often proved disastrous. Yet these stories also remind us that even the most powerful people in history were still human. They longed, they suffered, and they made mistakes. That is why their stories remain so fascinating today. 8. Echoes of love and power. Why do these forbidden romances still capture our imagination? Perhaps because they reveal the most human side of rulers. We often think of kings and queens as untouchable symbols of strength and control. But these stories remind us that even they could be blinded by love, just like anyone else. The difference was that their choices shaped nations, not just lives. From ancient palaces to modern thrones, forbidden love has left scars on history. Wars were fought, crowns were lost, and empires fell. And yet, these stories also left behind monuments, legends, and lessons. The truth is simple: love is powerful. It can inspire greatness, but it can also destroy. In the case of rulers, their love stories were never just personal, they carried the weight of dynasties. And so, when we remember Cleopatra, Edward VIII, Zhozong, or Shah Jahan, we are not only remembering love stories, we are remembering the moments when passion rewrote history itself.